Okay, so here we are. It's April 30th. We're having our class tonight. We have several people here, and we have all the online people over here. This is going to be a very strange class if you're online because I've got this backlit thing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just put it up the PowerPoint that we're going through tonight so you don't have to look at.
As he gets on the move. Is Daddy talking on the computer?
Yeah.
Mommy, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing, Mommy? What are you doing? Mommy? Mommy? Mommy?
Okay, I'm back. So we're going to keep going here. All right.
Is that a little better picture?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to put the PowerPoint up here.
Right back on there. They kind of match. They're kind of cute.
All right, so here we go. We are going to get started. Upstairs.
Well, oh,
All right, so tonight's class is on energy and fatigue. And so to start the class out, I did some research, and the first thing I researched was images about fatigue, and these were the images that came up on Google. And the thing that I learned from my image Google search was the reason why everybody's so tired is because of computers. It makes you fall over and fall asleep. So if you want to get over fatigue, you just have to throw away your computers.
Yeah.
Okay. No, actually, but that was pretty funny. But there is the real why of why we have fatigue and struggle with this. And I thought to start the class out tonight, we'd play Family Feud and have some help with the people that are here. And there's 7 main reasons why we struggle with fatigue. And it says 6 on our game board, but there really is 7. So we're going to start our Family Feud game here. Does everybody know how to play Family Feud? Okay, it's going to be a little bit different because we can't like all of the answers are going to be shown at the same time. So we're going to get 2 people to volunteer. Somebody want to, okay, do you want to help?
Sure.
Do you want to help out too? Okay. So what we're going to have you 2 do, we're just going to say you guys are the family. We're not going to have 2 families fighting against each other. We're going to just put you on the same family. And we're going to, there's 2 clues that come with us. The first 4 are choices that people make. Choices that people things do that make them experience lower energy. So that's your clue. You get to write 4.
Okay.
And okay, so here we go. We're gonna give you a little theme music. Or maybe we won't. Okay, let me know when you got 4. Okay, so here are the 4. Oh wait, what were the answers that you guys did?
Okay, so we have go to bed late, so not enough sleep,
Okay.
not eating right,
Okay.
stress, and caffeine.
Oh man, I think you got at least 3. So stress is the #1 cause of fatigue. Poor diet, you guys got that one. Lack of sleep. Maybe that could fall under scheduling. Did you have lack of exercise?
No, we didn't, but that was a really good one.
And caffeine. Okay. So now the other 3 are things that we can influence, but not necessarily things that we can do, that we do to ourselves. So
Things that influence our
that we
fatigue.
have an influence over in our body, but it's not necessarily something that we've chosen to inflict upon ourselves. So like stress, we can make choices that give us stress, but these things are not necessarily something that we chose to have. These can be like
So some kind of
illnesses or
illness something.
hereditary things or something like that.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, so it would have, there's all going to be all kinds of disease things. I mean, restless leg, you know, like I can think of a bunch of things, but is that going to be what's
just
illegal?
diseases.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
What else? Something that we don't choose, but the
Alright.
Car accident.
That would
Here, I'll give you the first one. You ready?
Yeah.
Depression.
Oh, so
It's something that, like, you don't necessarily choose that, but it's depression is not kind of more like a
So
disease.
that's kind of what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. But I mean, so like aches and pains and stuff. Well, could that be separate?
That could be part of it. Let's do #2.
Okay.
Hormone imbalance.
Okay.
And #3, source of fatigue is hypertension. And I didn't really study a whole lot about what that is. So if that's something that somebody's dealing with, then
Yeah, is that anxiety?
yeah. We're not going to really cover the whole lot of that in this class. But
Okay.
the good news is no matter which category your fatigue comes from, it's either something that we can have, it's a choice, it's something we're doing to ourselves, or it's something that we can influence and make better in our life. Even those things that are like depression and hypertension and things like that, there's a lot of things that we can do to influence that in a positive direction to reduce those effects, especially when it comes to fatigue.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so first we're going to analyze what our society does. When we're tired, what is the main go-to, this is how you get not be tired? Oh, yeah. There you go, caffeine. You got the beautiful gourmet coffee there and the store filled with all the different energy drinks. And we're going to watch a little video here that kind of explains why coffee and caffeine are so extremely effective.
With its stimulating effects, it's easy to understand why coffee is the second most traded commodity on Earth after oil. For many, it keeps us awake and moving through our busy days. But how does it work? What exactly does coffee do to your brain? Whenever you're awake, a chemical called adenosine slowly accumulates in your brain. And this adenosine binds to receptors which slow down brain activity. Ultimately, the more adenosine there is, the more tired your brain feels. Which makes sense, as the longer you're awake, the more fatigued you become. Conversely, while you sleep, the concentration of adenosine declines, gradually promoting wakefulness. But it turns out that the caffeine in your coffee is incredibly similar to adenosine in structure. The caffeine works its way through your bloodstream and into your brain, where it starts to compete and binds with adenosine receptors. But because it's not adenosine, the sleepiness effect isn't felt. Adenosine can no longer bind, meaning its calming properties are diminished, which is great for you when you're feeling tired. However, with long-term use of caffeine, your brain responds by creating more adenosine receptors, which means more caffeine is required to elicit the same response. It also means that when you try to quit drinking coffee or miss your daily intake, you might experience some withdrawal symptoms and feel more tired than you would have before you ever drank coffee. But the caffeine doesn't stop there. It also stimulates the production of adrenaline, you know, the fight or flight hormone. This increases your heart rate, gets your blood pumping, and even opens up your airways. Furthermore, it affects dopamine levels by preventing its reabsorption in the brain, which makes you feel happy. In fact, this is the exact same thing that cocaine does, just to a lesser degree. It's a drug after all. This dopamine stimulation is also the aspect of coffee that makes it moderately addictive. So, can you drink too much coffee? It turns out there is a lethal dose of caffeine, which is somewhere around 150 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of your body. This means if you weigh 70 kilograms, you would require 14,000 milligrams of caffeine to overdose. Put into perspective, an average cup of coffee contains roughly 150 milligrams of caffeine, meaning if you're 70 kilograms, approximately 70 cups of coffee would kill you. However, you'd have to drink those cups all at once, making it effectively impossible to overdose on caffeine from coffee, since you wouldn't be able to physically fit that much in your stomach. You would also start experiencing mania and hallucinations before getting to this point. Caffeine also has a half-life of around 6 hours, so if you drank a standard coffee with around 150 milligrams of caffeine, after about 6 hours, there'll only be 75 milligrams left in your system, and you'll be feeling half of the effect. And 6 hours after that, you'll have 37.5 milligrams, leaving more room for adenosine to jump back into action, which is why you may reach for another cup throughout the day to maintain that glorious, alert, and energetic feeling. So drink up and enjoy the buzz while it lasts.
All right, cool. So, a lot of you have been to my presentations before and know that I love doing these little videos that are pretty science-y, and for a lot of people, it just turns into, here's some information about coffee, science, blah, 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 blah. So, is there anybody here who could kind of recap something that they learned from that video?
I did not know that the name of that hormone, adenosine.
Adenosine.
That was new for me.
Yeah?
Right. I didn't know that either, and I didn't know that drinking coffee would get more stimulators for it, you know.
Yeah, that was something that I learned. That was all brand new in my research for this, so that was fun. Did you have a comment, Camila? No.
I
Okay.
can understand about like the half-life of caffeine. That's almost like, that's the way they talk about nuclear energy.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like the way I understood it. It's like alcohol, and the longer it breathes, the less alcohol there is in it, because it, like, the caffeine goes away.
It loses its effectiveness by
Yeah.
There is something
Well,
that
it talked about half of it's left in your system, so the other half is probably gone from your liver.
But if you leave the coffee cup sitting out too all day, it's
Oh.
not going to be as effective.
there's something that I had learned before that wasn't in that about how it kicks in your adrenaline, like the video said, and that it takes a full 24 hours for your adrenaline to calm down. So, but then when you are on coffee, you're drinking it the next morning. So their adrenaline levels are really high. So it's not good for your body.
No.
So it's contrast to regular.
Cool. So, for all of the people that do drink coffee, they might have just stopped watching the video because they're like, I don't want to hear this. But there's good news that dôTERRA has a lot of great products that can really help, whether a person just wants more fatigue or if they've grown all those extra receptors in their brain and now they're like, oh, I really don't want to drink coffee anymore and I'm just going through withdrawal symptoms and I need to, anyways, there's a lot of things that can help. And we're going to talk about, not the whole list tonight, but we're going to talk about some of the most powerful tools that are available to us.
But this doesn't coffee leach out a bunch of calcium. I think it leaches out a bunch of calcium.
Yeah.
So
And
leaching out nutrients.
yeah, that's a topic that I'm not going to touch on too much tonight, on the like side effects of coffee and how you can overcome those, because I was focusing more on the energy part of it and getting more, but that is true, and there's an oil for that.
Well, yeah, you're going to tell us about these.
Okay, so the 4 products that we're focusing on tonight are the Mito 2 Max, Lemon, Peppermint, and Elevation. And we're going to start right here. Oh, just kidding. We're not going to start there. This is the full list of oils and supplements that are going to be helpful in supporting our energy in our body. So we're not going to talk about all those tonight. And if it's something you want to look at, you can watch the YouTube video later. But there's a lot of them. Something that was really interesting was this one right there. And it's the calming blend. And I was really thrown off by that. I was like, why would you use a calming blend to give you more energy? And this is where I'd like to just point out how essential oils are complex chemical compounds that react differently for each person. And what's normally going to work for a person, what would normally work for me is going to react differently with your body, because your body is unique. We're not the same person, so the chemical reaction that is created in our body is not going to be the same. So what works for me is going to be maybe a little bit different for what you're going to need. So the nice thing about this list is there's a lot of things that'll help, and this is a very personalized application of this. The things that we're going over tonight are the most popular and have the highest percentage of people that have the desired effect that they're looking for. But for those of you here that try this, and those of you online that are not seeing the effect that you want right off the bat with the oil, you might need to try something different, because your body's chemistry might be different than everybody else's.
Yeah. Something in regards to that is, if you're coming from a place of more medicinal use, a good way to understand that is medications work the same way, right? Like there's medications like Adderall would make most people sky high, right? Like they would be way out of this world. And then people with ADD or really high energy, it totally calms them down. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same concept with that.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of interesting too. Like you can even see that in coffee. Like there's a friend of mine who, when she drinks coffee, she gets even more fatigued. It's the opposite effect for her, probably because her body just sees those little things that we saw in the video that I can, yeah, and just doesn't make the difference between the tired stuff and the caffeine stuff. So anyways, there you go. Okay, so we're starting here on the Mito 2 Max, and there's something that in order to understand why Mito 2 Max is so effective, there's some basic biology that we need to understand, and there's a great little video here.
Our bodies need energy to move, to eat, to breathe. The chemical energy in the human body is produced in a part of the cell called the mitochondria. Mitochondria convert the food you eat in the form of organic molecules into chemical energy that can be used by the cell, called ATP. ATP is the fuel of the human body. The process of converting organic nutrients that you eat into ATP is called cellular respiration. As the agents that create energy for you, mitochondria are incredibly important to the functioning of the human body. Cells that require more energy contain more mitochondria. Muscle cells use a lot of ATP for muscle contraction. In order to produce the amount of ATP that's required, there are more mitochondria found in muscle cells.
Inside mitochondria, there are two membranes, an outer membrane and an inner membrane. The double membrane structure of mitochondria is really important to the process of cellular respiration because it allows mitochondria to sort molecules that it uses for chemical processes. Scientists think that mitochondria evolved from bacteria and used to be a separate single-celled organism. The reason for this theory is that mitochondria contain their own genetic information. Eventually, mitochondria were incorporated into the cell of another organism, and from then on, mitochondria have lived on inside their host cells, manufacturing energy for other organisms. When you breathe, you're bringing oxygen into your body that mitochondria use during cellular respiration. Cellular respiration that uses oxygen is called aerobic. In a way, every breath you take is supporting an ancient life form that now resides inside your cells. It isn't a one-way relationship, though. Mitochondria use the oxygen you breathe to make energy for you.
Awesome. Okay. So is there anybody that can tell me or explain to me what a mitochondria is in your own words?
Energy maker.
An energy maker. Yeah, that's the way I see it. I see it like a little generator that's stuck to my cells, and it pumps energy into my cells so they can do what they're supposed to do. So something that happens to our bodies, well, our bodies are made up of trillions and trillions of cells. So there's a whole lot of these mitochondria in our body. And as we get older, our cells get damaged, but also the mitochondria become less efficient in creating energy. And when they're less efficient, we have less energy available to us. And then when we have, well, the other thing that happens is those little mitochondria, the exhaust that they put out starts to become even larger in volume because we're getting old and they're kind of wearing out. They're like generators that are 34 years old or older in some cases. So this is something that's like, if you go to the kids' playground right now and see how fast kids are running around, that's like an abundance of energy. And that's where we all started. We all had that much energy when we were kids, but as we grow and we become older and we mature, our mitochondria just are taxed and they lose efficiency. It's kind of like what I've got here. This was Optimus Prime in his fighting form. It's the bottom picture there for those that are online. And when he got older, he got beat up and he turned into this rusty old truck. Now, the cool thing that Mito 2 Max can do is it kind of reverses that. Well, it supports the body so the body can make a reversal of that process. It's really cool, and we're going to look at a little bit of how that happens. So some of the cool things about Mito 2 Max is it enhances mitochondrial function, supports stamina, supports endurance, increases mental energy, and regeneration of cellular damage, which is a whole lot of really, really important things. What happens a lot of the times on these mitochondria as we get older, they start to get a little bit more picky on their diet. And some people may have noticed, like, it's a little bit harder to lose weight as you get a little bit older. And part of that is because the mitochondria stop accepting fat. They stop accepting that as an acceptable form of energy. And so they'll be like, no, I'm not interested in that one. Go get me sugar. And something cool that Mito 2 Max does is it enhances mitochondrial functionality, which basically brings that fat to the mitochondria and rips its mouth open. Okay, it doesn't really rip it open, but it encourages the mitochondria to recognize this as a really useful source of energy. So the mitochondria start to accept forms of fat again, which can be super helpful if that's something that has happened to a person. It can reduce the fat content of their body if it's done in correlation with exercise. Exercise is a key part of that. If you're not needing energy, your body's not going to use it. Okay, so here's the part where I need to look a little bit more back at my notes here. Okay, so this is done through 3 of the major ingredients that are found in Mito2 Max. Okay, so the first ingredient is alcetyl L-carnitine. So that might not be the real way you say it, but anyways, it's acetyl L-carnitine. Thanks. Okay, so the purpose of that is to do what I was just talking about, is taking the fat to the mitochondrial and making that a supply that it can burn to make energy. It helps with that. And that's one of the, it's the primary ingredient for Mito2 Max. Now, ashwagandha root ashwagandha root extract is pretty amazing. It's been used a lot throughout history to support energy levels, immunity, libido, and it also reduces the effects of anxiety, insomnia, and stress. But one of the greatest qualities of this is to the ability that has to regenerate cells from damage caused by molecules known as free radicals. We're going to watch a little video here in just a second so we know what free radicals are. But that's going to be even more apparent of how amazing that is. We're just going to skip to the video right now so we can watch that. But before we do, we're going to talk about ginkgo biloba, which is an antioxidant that can help support the spread of free radicals. No, not support the spread of it, to stop it. So it stops free radicals from ripping our body apart. All right, so here we go. Oh.
Why is all this significant? Because scientists believe free radicals contribute to the normal aging process. It's a fact of life. We age every second of every day. And although we can't stop the natural aging process, we can take steps to improve our health as we age. Certain known causes of free radical damage, such as smoking or sun exposure, can have a negative impact on how we look and how we feel. Pollution, exposure to toxic chemicals, even the air we breathe, and exercise all create free radicals within our body. A simple way to demonstrate free radical damage is with an apple. An apple that is exposed to the air will turn brown in a matter of minutes. This is free radical damage.
Free radicals are highly reactive, short-lived molecules that can damage virtually any molecule inside our bodies, such as proteins, fats, and DNA, which is our genetic material. So this kind of free radical damage leads to the generation of even more free radicals. It's a chain reaction. And so it's very important that we have something to stop this chain reaction inside our bodies.
Cool. So, all right. So in like a 1 or 2 sentence, what's a free radical? Dad?
That cartoon character that turns into a tornado comes to mind. It's a destructive little.
The Tasmanian devil?
Yes. It's a destructive element.
Mm-hmm.
In the body.
So yeah, the last 2 things, those ingredients in Mito2 Max are really helpful in stopping those Tasmanian devil twisters in our body. And it's also really helpful in restoring the damage that's already been done. Like being in sunlight, yeah, I've done that every day of my life. You know, and so that's just a natural part of living, and it's gonna keep going. We're gonna get older, and we're gonna have that. But it's nice that the effects of that can be slowed and repaired somewhat by our body. So that's cool. Any other comments or thoughts on that video? No? Okay, cool. Now, There's several oils that can, okay, so we're gonna go back a little bit here and focus again on, so Mighty 2 Max helps restore the body's system for creating energy for itself. That's why it's a really effective tool when we want to increase the amount of energy we have in our body. If we make our body more efficient and let our body heal itself, we're going to have more energy available. It's great. I've used the Mito 2 Max and like it has a pretty immediate effect on me. Like after taking a couple pills in the morning, I am like 10 minutes, I'm ready, which is great for me. And I know other people have had really, really great benefits from the Mito 2 Max.
How long does it last?
So for me, like I go all day on it. Like, but for me also, like morning was the only time that I ever actually felt tired and sleepy and didn't want to get up and go. And that usually lasted like 2 or 3 hours, and then the rest of the day I was fine. So I don't know if I'm a very accurate person to judge that off of, because that's like a small window of time where I was tired, and now I don't have that at all. I don't know, has anybody else been using the Mito 2 Max? Katie, have you had?
I usually just do it in the morning right now. And I'm usually okay unless I've had a very busy day, then I might need one. And yeah, but typically it's just the one.
Yeah. For a person who may be really used to supplementing their diet with caffeine, they might need to do it a little bit more often, you know, just because they're going to have some additional things going on in their body. So, or if there's a person who just feels tired all the time, it might be every 3 or 4 hours. I'm not sure. It's probably, my understanding is just as needed, you can use it. However, these are really powerful natural compounds that our bodies can use. And it's important to remember that they are powerful, and using too much of anything can be a bad thing. So, like, don't do the whole canister in a sitting or in a day.
One of the things that I really like about the Mito 2 Max is that ashwagandha plant that you had talked about, is that it lowers cortisol levels, which is like that stress hormone in our bodies, and that makes us gain weight. And the ashwagandha naturally, because it's battling those free radicals and everything, and lowering the cortisol levels, it helps us not take on weight and stress. It's helping us to handle it. What about drinking soy bubble? I don't know as much about that one, other than it's good for your immune system.
It's supposed to be good for your brain too.
It's in Brazil, we always take ginkgo biloba capsules. You can buy just ginkgo biloba for minimum.
Yeah.
This is what I know about ginkgo biloba.
That's like the herbal thing around here.
It's good for me.
Well, let's see. I'll go back to my notes here. There was a couple other things that it said about that. It improves blood flow to the brain and acts as an antioxidant. So that's going back to what you were just talking about. It's like they have those in Brazil, and a lot of it is to create that raised blood flow to your brain. And obviously, when you have more brains, you don't present like I do. No, you have more oxygen available for your thought process, and that's going to wake you up and make you feel more alert. So yeah, that's where that comes into. Yeah, so we're going to skip ahead now. So elevation is one of the oils that's very, very effective in giving you extra energy. This is a cool thing because you can just smell it and you get a really almost instant pick-me-up. So what I like to do is just like put it on my wrist or just smell the bottle just right there. And when you do that, there's a couple of things that are happening. Here, I'll do this to you. what happens is your nose monitor guy, the guy that runs your nose and identifies what's going on, he sees that chemical compound and he sends a message to the brain, and it says, brain, here's chemical compound something, and it's a big long number because that's the way I think my brain works. So that goes to the very center of our brain, and our brain takes that information and it says, wow, if that's the chemical that we're smelling right now, we need to release some chemicals to our body to get ready for what's about to go on in the world. And it releases endorphins, or is it, yeah, endorphins, and what's that thing that coffee kind of gets you to? Adrenaline. It gives you a healthy amount of adrenaline because of the smell, and the brain triggers that. So yeah, I love that elevation. It's fun. Now,
basically you're saying that elevation triggers your brain to give you
energy
in the form of adrenaline.
Adrenaline. I'm not sure if the other one was real. It was something, but now that I'm saying it again, I'm not sure that that's a real thing. But I do know that it does kick in some adrenaline to your body, and it's an amount that's not going to be all day, and it's an amount that's healthy because your body creates it without like an external. It's just like a brain function. So that's awesome. Another oil is peppermint. Ooh. And this is a fun one. I love the way peppermint smells. It's one of the oils that I kind of go to all the time now, but just smelling it alone is another one that'll pick you up a lot. But a really useful one that I saw today in a presentation was you take 4 or 5 drops and you put it right in the middle of your palm, and then you put it right on the, well, if you're having low energy and you really want to pick me up, this is what you do, and it'll help you. I'm going to be bouncing off the walls here in a minute. But you just rub it on your neck and rub it in and put it right there. And then what you want to do is go up the back of your hair and rub it up into your hair a little bit. What's happening here is the chemical compounds of peppermint are getting absorbed into your skin and up there into your head and close to your brain, and that will help your brain have like increased blood flow and decreased inflammation. And when you have increased blood flow and decreased inflammation, that support, you're going to have more energy, more things to think about, and it'll help you focus a lot. So that's like, I'm going to pass this around if you want to do that. It's a really, really helpful way to get a lot more focus. And then as you're like realizing that you're having a hard time focusing again, you can just put your hand underneath your nose and you'll be like, whoa, yeah, I'm focused again. So that's a great one. That's another way that people are really comfortable using the oils. That's called topically, and that's just putting it right on your skin. The first way that we were using on the elevation is aromatically, where you just smell it. And this topically, it's so close to our nose that we're kind of doing topically and aromatically at the same time. But yeah, in a little bit, you'll probably feel kind of like a cool sensation on your neck. And you'll be like, oh, yeah. All right, so now lemon. I don't know if you guys do this, but I know that I love putting lemon in my water. And it's something that can be really helpful in getting energy into our lives. The reason for that is lemon has an amazing cleansing effect. So a lot of the free radicals that are spinning around in our bodies, chopping things up and things like that, the lemon can help support our body in getting rid of things that's not good for it. So free radicals fall into that category, and our body wants to get rid of them. And when we give our body lemon, it's really helpful for the body's immune system to flush those things out. If we're drinking water anyway, that's a really essential part of taking care of ourselves too. Any questions or comments on that? Cool. Also, lemon, you can smell it and put it on yourself topically for a pick-me-up too. But I just really like doing it in the water because when I drink the water, I smell it then too, and it's kind of nice that way. And then, yeah. Oh, sorry. I was not having that around. Yeah, here you go. Sorry. So these tools are used to help our body. They go to the source of what we're dealing with. You know, helping our cells restructure themselves and getting those little generators, the mitochondria of our cells, to improve the way they function is amazing. But it's also really important to remember that as we're doing that, in order for our body to repair itself, we need to make sure that we're giving it the right support and nutrients that we need to be able to make those repairs. I love putting lemon in water because most of our body is made up of water. And in order to make those critical repairs, we need to make sure we're staying hydrated. If we don't stay hydrated, everything really starts to go bad. And in addition to that, eating right, making sure we have the right amount of vitamins and minerals in our diets is important. And it's a challenging thing to do now, but luckily there's a lot of products that dôTERRA has that are going to be able to help us out with that. You missed something on the slide here. There we go. So yeah, this is back to the beginning. We're going back to those things that we talked about in Family Feud. Stress, overscheduled, poor diet, lack of exercise, depression, hormone imbalance, and hypertension. All of these things correlate to this pyramid here. You know, stress, that can be a major source of that weariness, and that's, you know, rest and management of stress. It's right there in the pyramid. It's something that we need to do. Lack of exercise, it's the second level of the pyramid. It's so important to use our bodies and make sure we're moving and doing things with them. Poor diet, it's the base of everything. It's right there at the bottom, eating correctly. So if we're having these things happen, or if we're having low energy or whatever, it's something that we might need to look right at this pyramid and decide, what am I lacking? What am I not paying attention to on this that I need to really pay attention to? And now there's people in the class that are like, gee, Tucker tricked me. He's trying to make me to do good things and eat right. But I've got a lot of good ideas and really helpful things. There's the supplements that dôTERRA makes, and my family's been taking them now for several months, and it is such an amazing thing what happens to your body when you give it the vitamins and minerals it needs. Your body is amazing, and it just takes care of itself if you give it the tools it needs to build the repairs that it wants to make. Our bodies love to repair themselves. They just need the building blocks to do it, and that's why I really like dôTERRA supplements, because they give your body those building blocks. There's another really cool thing that I have, and that's my team of superheroes. And these are everybody who does dôTERRA with me. They're a huge network of people that I can rely on, and when I don't know an answer and when I don't know what to do, I can reach out to them and say, hey, help me out. And I love this picture because that's the picture that I found today that looks the most like my dôTERRA team. And it's not them all standing there looking macho. It's like they're running to help me. And they're also running to help a ton of other people. Like, there's the mad scientist down on the right side, and he's not running the same way as anybody else. He's kind of going off to left field there. But everybody's actively doing something. So, like, that's a lot of what my dôTERRA team is. And I love that because no matter which part of this pyramid somebody is struggling with, there are people in my team that can help with it. You know, there's reduce the toxic load. There's people that know exactly what to do to help somebody with that because they've been through it. There's people on my team that know how to rest and manage stress. You know, there's a lot of people out in the world that have stress in their life because they're stuck doing something they don't want to do, and they hear this part of my presentation, they're like, how am I going to reduce my stress when my boss is always breathing down my neck and is mad at me all the time? This is a major portion of stress in my life, but there's nothing that I can do about it. I have to provide for my family, and I can relate to that. That's a really hard place to be in, but what I love about this business is we have a way that we can alleviate that stress. There's people in our group that are really, really great at coming up with solutions inside and outside of dôTERRA to make that a reality in somebody's life. It's not something that we have to do. It's a choice that we make, and we can choose to get out of those stressful situations if we want to. And if it's something that anybody here is wanting to do more of, then I am on board to help you do whatever it is. And there's a lot of people out there to help. So those are the things that I wanted to go over tonight on that. And were there any comments or questions here? Cool. So I'm going to sign out of the video.